Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. My name is Chris, and you are watching the Weekly Spinner Rack. What is this? It's a show where I'm going to recap the comic book news of the week and kind of riff on it. Hopefully, we get some jokes out of it. Talk about, say, the latest comic books that came out this week. And I think I might even draw tonight. Also, I might just have an apology video to make at the top of the show here, but before I get to all that, this is a big loaded show. If you're ever going to watch a show, this is the one to watch because I'm also now broadcasting with a brand new computer that hopefully is allowing me to broadcast in 1080p, high definition, as well as being able to share images and stuff without the signal stuttering. That's my hope. Let's see. We'll say hello to a few of the people in the chat. This is working faster already. Welcome, everybody. That's nice. Let's see. Tuning in from Dublin. That's exciting. I love when people tell me where they're coming from, either here in the States or abroad. Looks great, way better than before. I hope so. How does it handle? This is basically the trial run. Let's hope everything goes smooth. But thank you all. Like, I'm just highlighting real quick a few of the folks that are jumping in right at the beginning. Picture looking extra crisp. Boo, I miss the old PC. Well, I don't. That was getting tough. Ontario, Canada. Beautiful. Let's see. What are you drawing tonight? I'm going to try my hand at drawing Marshall from Radiant Black. I think that's fun. So, we'll see. But some of you may have watched the latest comic Tropes that I put out, which was a little different. I decided to talk about a potential scam that's been going on for a while that I just wanted to signal boost. And I'm happy to have released that episode. Overall, I'm happy with it. But I did see in the comments some complaints about the audio, as well as the fact that they felt that I took too long to sort of explain what was going on. I laid too much groundwork. So yeah, I'm getting just about canceled, folks, and I thought it was time to do an apology video. So, all aboard the bad audio monorail. Oh, I tried to do an episode, but all I did was fail. You're all jumping aboard the bad audio monorail. I tried to do well. I tried to do my best. It just wasn't good enough. And all the rest. I might be improving this song, and I might not know how to play, but at least I've apologized to you today. Oh, the bad audio monorail. I tried to do well, but all I did was fail. All right. I don't know how to play the ukulele. My wife is the musician in the family. And Chrissy, thank you for letting me play with your ukulele. That was fun. So let's actually get started with the show. That was me just having fun because, I feel like 2 to 3 weeks after all the YouTube drama about Colleen Ballinger, that's the perfect time to start parodying it on a comic book show. So that's good. Straight to copyright in Spotify. And yeah. And let's see, from Twitch. Thank you, Harvey. Ain't no copyright strike there. No. I think I nailed it. Let's see. I've got some comics here that I'm so excited to show you because, let's see. I win the golden ticket. Thank you, wife. I love you very much. Let's see. I have a special comic that just arrived from France, which is what most people call France. Most people. Nobody calls it that. I'm going to add something here, which is, let's see, add to stream. Yes. How do I do that? Bear with me. New computer, so I'm just making sure everything works well. Okay, so I could do that, but I don't want to do that. I want to add this. Oh, hold on. I closed what I wanted to show you. Bear with me one moment. Bear with me one moment. I'm going to stop that screen. We're starting off on a really professional footing. Everybody's going to stay now. Share screen, yes. PowerPoint presentation, heck yes. There we go. Look at that thumbnail. Welcome to the X-Men, Kamala. Hope you survive the experience. So you can see what I'm going to get at probably. Gene, lovely to have you here. Always, always lovely to have you here. This is going to be good. Let's get to the first piece of news. This one's fairly timely, actually. Let me just open up a little window there. All right. So there we go with Vincent D'Onofrio, who had something to say about the actors' strike that just started a few days ago. So we already had a writers' strike holding, certain shows and movies up, and that's fine. I'm 100% with the unions on this one, just to be clear. But the actors also had a round of negotiations up and nothing was resolved. So they are also now on strike. How does that impact us? Well, of course, some media is going to be delayed until they resolve things. Loading up on caffeine. It impacted several panels for Comic-Con because actors aren't allowed to actively promote their current projects while they're striking. They can do other things, like, say, a stand-up comedian that acts on TV. They could still do stand-up comedy. If you were an actor like Vincent D'Onofrio and you happen to have written a book, yeah, you could be doing a book signing, but you couldn't show up on, say, The Tonight Show to promote Daredevil or whatever. That said, The Tonight Show isn't even on because, of course, the writers are on strike. So at least I don't think it is. I don't watch The Tonight Show. But it does bring up another key point is, like, there's a little bit of vagaries there. Like, we've never really had to deal with a writer's strike impacting right before San Diego Comic-Con, when, of course, Hollywood loves to promote a lot of its upcoming shows and movies that are either comic book related or sci-fi and fantasy. So this is specifically what Vincent D'Onofrio tweeted. My actor and performer friends who are frequently visiting Comic-Con type events, I think it's important that, and he means our reps and even the people who run the events should be communicating with SAG-AFTRA, that's the union for actors, very specifically so that us striking SAG-AFTRA members are supported by the people who run these events and our reps in a way that coincide with the new rules we are under that are in place during the strike. Boy, that's a run-on sentence, Vincent. The rest of this is essentially saying, like, look, the actors want to, not break a union line. We're still willing to go to Comic-Con, but it has to be, like, very clear, like, what we're allowed to promote. So, like, if Lou Ferrigno wanted to go and talk about the Hulk show that he did back in the 70s, that's fine, but he wouldn't be allowed to go there to promote if he was appearing in, say, like, Avengers Kang Dynasty or something along those lines. So anyway, what does it mean to us? Probably, if you're going to San Diego Comic-Con, expect a lot more of the actors to be absent this year. Personally, I don't think that's that big a deal. We can have as many comic book artists and writers and colorists and inkers and editors and publishers as we want. So there's still an awful lot to do. There's the cosplay, there's the shopping, there's lots to do. But yeah, just to be clear, a lot of the actors are not going to be at San Diego Comic-Con. We already, like, had the writers not there, like showrunners for shows weren't going to be there, but now the actors can't be either. Oh well. Let's see what else we've got for news, though. And I put this right as number 2 because there's actually another strike that's about to happen that could impact us as comic book readers. So, Diamond Distribution has issued a letter to retailers, comic book stores, warning them about the impending UPS strike. If you don't know, the Teamsters who work for UPS are about to strike because they are not getting offered a normal raise. They only renew these contracts every several years. Sometimes the companies act in bad faith and just won't negotiate, and that's why people strike. But if they haven't reached an agreement and a strike is imminent, obviously UPS handles a lot of delivery, a lot. Are they the U.S. Postal Service? No, but they're huge, and they deliver a lot of comic books, a lot of comic books. So this is just a piece of what Diamond wrote to retailers. Quote, in the event of an extended UPS strike, probably will be, we have been testing alternative shipping arrangements that would allow us to minimize shipping delays or interruptions. So, it just means that now they'd have to use, say, like the Postal Service or FedEx, things like that. Things like that. Not fun. Not fun. I'm fine with strikes impacting my comics reading because I think people's need to live supersedes my need to read about superpowered tights people. I think that's a really positive attitude, Beowulf. I think that we'll still get stuff. There just might be some delays coming pretty soon. So just don't be surprised by that. Hey, what a lovely super chat. Love your show and wanted to support a little. Gracias, Pedro. Thank you so much. Or obrigado. I'm not sure where you're from. I'm just sort of guessing at that, but I love it. Yes, I did see that video, which Ron Perlman, Hellboy, among other roles, really lost his temper in an Instagram video on studio execs. Because some of the studio execs have literally said their goal is to try to basically starve out the writers and make them go homeless so that they'll come back to the negotiating table, which is just so transparently evil. He took it down from Instagram, but it's online, so you can find it anywhere now. You can find it anywhere. Oh, wow. My job relies on UPS, so this has been on my radar. Huge impact, way bigger than the writer's strike. Absolutely. Writers ultimately are more just, entertainment, but UPS gets us things that we need sometimes. I'm from Brazil. It is obrigado. Okay, good. It's funny. I've always had an interest in language, but I'm very bad at learning other languages. I find it very tough, very tough. It's just not something I'm good at, but I try. I do try. I've tried Spanish and I'm trying Japanese. I've been doing it for years. And I can at least say things like hello and thank you and goodbye in a fair amount of languages. And it's sort of because my job is selling vehicles to people. And a lot of times they don't necessarily speak English as a first language. So if I can even say one or two things to show that I'm trying, it means a lot, I think. Anyway, let's good. It's a little tricky, but probably not as hard as English, actually. English has weird things. Let's see. Same, I'm terrible at learning other languages. I think Chrissy, my wife, is really good because when you're good at languages, you also tend to be good at things like music or programming. And those are two things she's good at. And she has basically conversational Japanese and she can read it. So when we visited Japan, that's been really helpful. And I'm trying. Good luck with language. Yup. Japanese is fun. Yup. Music is a language. So you've already demonstrated your struggles. Obviously, I didn't really play that ukulele. As long as we're talking about this language stuff, I don't know about most of you. This was the case when I went to high school. You had to choose a language and take that for several years. I forget how many, maybe 3, maybe 4. I can't remember. It actually started, now that I'm thinking of it, in junior high. And my public school offered 3. They had French, Spanish, and Latin. And my parents thought that I should take Latin. They were like, well, if you ever want to become a doctor or a lawyer, it could be useful. Okay. I never had any interest in becoming a doctor or a lawyer. But I did take Latin for several years, and boy, is that one is tough. That one is tough. But if you ever want to use any Latin or know some history about like ancient Rome for a comic book specifically, there is a writer who is an expert in Latin. Goes by Benito Cereno. He's written stuff like Tick and some Invincible spinoffs. And he's said that he's willing to help translate that stuff so that it's accurate because he's just passionate about Latin. I think he's got a master's in it. Latin, the dead language. I took Latin 4 years. Gene says Latin helped a lot in work. Well, that is nice to hear, actually. That is cool. I feel like it helped me with my grammar, that I've always been really good at like writing, but like otherwise not much. All the turbo nerds took Latin. We got along great. I speak Gallifreyan. Oh, well, I speak High Gallifreyan. Let's see. Alternate universe Chris. Oh, hi. You got me performing thoracic surgery. No. Let's see what else we've got. What do we got? I don't know how many of you know about the original Brute Force comic book by Marvel, but Brute Force is back. Brute Force is, as you can kind of see, artificially intelligent and mechanically augmented animal superheroes. It was a 4-issue series that came out in 1990 by writer Simon Furman and artist Jose Delbo, both of who worked on the Transformers comic for Marvel. So I remember when this came out, it kind of felt like Transformers. It felt like it was an adaptation of some sort of cartoon or toy line, but it might have been Marvel trying to create the comic book first instead of the adaptation as the second part. I don't know for sure, but it had all sorts of crazy animals. This was Soar, the eagle, the kangaroo that rode around in a motorized scooter. That was Hip Hop. It was 1990, folks. The enemies were called Heavy Metal. And one of those was a shark with a freaking laser beam on his head. I'm not joking. That came out about 7 or 8 years before Austin Powers. And he was called Bloodbath. He also had a bunch of razor blades on his arms and legs. If you heard about this, it might have been because on Disney Plus, they had a documentary series called like Marvel 616, and actor and comedian Paul Scheer sort of went into like doing this as a reboot. So that was pretty funny. And they did talk a fair amount about Brute Force. Well, he's actually completed that comic. Yeah, Paul Scheer and writer Nick Giovanetti teamed up with artist Jeffo, and they've brought it back. It's on the Marvel Infinity app as a digital comic. So Brute Force is back, baby. It was used once or twice in Marvel continuity. There was like a Deadpool issue that I think Paul Scheer wrote, and they retroactively said that Brute Force was part of the Weapon X program that produced Wolverine. Weapon X is also Weapon 10. They say that Brute Force was Weapon 2, so it was like an early version. I think Captain America was either Weapon 0 or Weapon 1, but anyway, yeah. This news story is going to feature, an animal who had been sent into space during the space race. We actually did that, so did the Russians. And, they were presumed dead. But this story says, nah, one of them survived. So we all see. We will see what that is. Thank you for the super chat from Mexico. Yes. So gracias, Axe. That's really, really kind of you. Brute Force. I read when I was a kid. It was not, in my opinion, very good, but I think it's hilarious that Paul Scheer has latched onto this and tried to drag it kicking and screaming into mainstream Marvel continuity. I kind of love that. Paul Scheer is a really nice guy, by the way. I don't know if you've ever watched any of his shows or podcasts. I think he's really funny. I hung out with him a little bit once at a New York Comic-Con. It was back when he was doing, I think, his NCIS Law and Order parody. And what else? Back in the day, I used to do a podcast, and it was part of it got added to Earwolf as part of a challenge where, like, every week somebody would get eliminated. They were just like looking for a new podcast to add to Earwolf. Earwolf is Scott Aukerman, Comedy Bang Bang, if you don't know. And Paul Scheer was a guest judge that like said really nice things about my podcast and got it through. So I always liked Paul Scheer. He was really nice to me. No, I agree with Chemdog here. No worse than NFL Super Pro. In fact, I'd argue that it's actually a little better than NFL Super Pro. I'm pretty sure that was, yeah, like there was a Deadpool special and that is what happened. I'm pretty sure. Forceworks. Forceworks is awful. Namor should meet them in the MCU. Here's keeping our fingers crossed. Who knows? Just having some coffee. Get some energy into this boring-ass show. I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's see. Marvel has also announced the 5 books that they are producing for Halloween. Halloween has become this event in comics called Trick or Read. And what it is some publishers are producing comic books at a low cost for stores to buy and give away for free. Very much like Free Comic Book Day, but it's on Halloween, which makes some sense. You know, kids are going out sort of begging for candy. Why not let them beg for a free comic? An interesting lineup of choices here. So, Amazing Spider-Man. Okay, I'm not surprised to see them put Spider-Man in there. That's the, what do you call it? Zeb Wells, John Romita Jr. run. They put in the first issue also of Moon Knight by artist Federico Sabatini and writer Jed MacKay. So he's been making a lot of waves in Marvel these days. Captain Marvel, like a classic reboot of the character. This was by Kelly Sue DeConnick with artist Dexter Soy. We've got Spidey and His Amazing Friends for really young readers. And then I was interested. I was like, Star Wars The High Republic. I mean, I'd heard about it, but I hadn't been reading it. These are all basically issue 1. But this one is issue 5. And I'm going like, why are they releasing issue 5? Well, it's because it featured the first appearance of a Padawan named Keeve Trennis. And that character is going to appear on the upcoming live-action Disney Plus show, The Acolyte. So they are making a Disney Plus Star Wars show set during the High Republic. And this is like, takes place about 100 years before the Star Wars movies that we know. About 100 years. So, yeah, some interesting books. Might want to check with your comic book shop to see if they're participating. I don't really want to take these comics for myself. You probably could, but I've read basically all of these except for Spidey and His Amazing Friends and the Star Wars one, which I'm not super interested in. But what I think it would be good to take, like if you've got a kid or you've got a nephew or a niece or a neighbor or something, take them to a comic book store. Introduce them to comics. They're already probably excited to get dressed up and go out. I bet a lot of comic book stores that are participating in something like this might also have candy or other giveaways. Keeve Trennis. Now there's a name. It sounds like a Star Wars name to me. I absolutely remember Fred Hembeck's Power Pachyderms. I absolutely do. Well, let's keep going. What else have we got in the news? This just looked like fun. It's more potential than anything else. We don't have any like screenshots of this, but there's going to be a video game based on Black Panther. EA is the publisher that announced it, and they said that a relatively new studio, Cliffhanger Games, is going to be making that in partnership with Marvel. Cliffhanger, the only thing I really could find as far as news aside from this game being announced is that Cliffhanger is led by a guy named Kevin Stevens. He previously oversaw the Shadow of Mordor game, which I know did pretty well. And he released a statement. In part, it's saying, "We're dedicated to delivering fans a definitive and authentic Black Panther experience, giving them more agency and control over their narrative than they have ever experienced in a story-driven video game. Wakanda is a rich superhero sandbox, and our mission is to develop an epic world for players who love Black Panther and want to explore the world of Wakanda as much as we do." It is going to be a single-player game, no footage or timeline or anything, so we'll see. We'll see. No, I haven't seen a pic from the Snow White live-action remake. No, I don't know anything about that one, I'm afraid. You just want candy on Halloween? That's fair. It's free. My local comic shop went a little nuts on Free Comic Book Day. It took them a month to give away all the books. They probably don't have the cash for this. Yikes, that's a lot. Sounds like the Spider-Man game, except in Wakanda, which isn't a bad idea on its face. I love the Spider-Man game, so we'll see if Cliffhanger is capable, but could be good. I didn't know there was a Wakanda Forever board game, but I'm glad that it's good. That's really cool. I think Wakanda could be a very cool place to explore, and that there's stuff that we haven't seen in the movies that is exactly like the comics. You know, like it might be interesting to see a slightly more comic accurate Claw or M'Baku or Killmonger. I don't know. You know, the movies adapted them in part, but yeah, we'll see. The combat in Shadow of Mordor was very fun, so that's a good sign. Absolutely. For a superhero game, you definitely want good combat. And I think that the Dark Knight games and Spider-Man games have been towards the top of at least delivering that. Like, easy to pick up, hard to totally master so that you can chain combos. But I really like those games. Yeah, it might be a clone, but there are worse things to clone. As long as you've got a good story and good characters in it. We'll see. I would potentially get that for sure. Here's a case of comics lining up with adaptations. Although the writers have definitely put more thought into this than just trying to leap onto something that clicked, okay? Because we don't even actually know if the Thunderbolts movie will do well, but they are making a new comic that has a lineup that's very similar to the lineup in the movie. So this is written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzig, who worked on with the character of Winter Soldier in the recent Captain America book. Art by Geraldo Borges. This cover is a variant by Mahmoud Asrar, just to be clear. That's not what Geraldo Borges' art looks like. But this is following out of what they've done in Captain America. Winter Soldier went undercover to operate in like this evil terrorist group called the Inner Circle. There was the Inner Circle and I think the Outer Circle. But anyway, he learned a lot of information from that. And coming out of this, he's putting together sort of a black ops team to go after some of these big supervillain threats that he knows about. So the team is comprised, aside from Winter Soldier, we've got Black Widow. We've got Yelena Belova as White Widow. We've got Sharon Carter, who is now known as Destroyer. That was a character that Marvel owned back in the days when they were called Timely, back in the 40s and so. Let's see who else. We've got Red Guardian. We've got Shang-Chi. And we've got U.S. Agent. It's also co-led by Valentina De Fontaine. So out of that, that's like 6 characters that lines up with the movie, right? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Shang-Chi and Black Widow aren't in the Thunderbolts movie, but the rest of these guys are. Could be interesting. Not any of the original Thunderbolts, that's true. Shang-Chi is a bit of an odd inclusion, unless you have read his original comics in which he worked very much with British intelligence and went after terrorists, including his father. He is willing to kill in a fight, so it's not that out of pocket for this character to be used like this. Thunderbolts is interesting. You know, I don't want it to be like the Marvel version of DC's Suicide Squad, you know, a government black ops team. I do want there to be sort of secrets and twists, because the original Thunderbolts, I think, had an amazing twist. You know, the Avengers were gone. The public was ready for a new superhero team, which debuted. And then on the last page, we learned that that new superhero team was actually Baron Zemo and his Masters of Evil in disguise. Great twist. Great twist. And it kept building little twists. So I hope that there's a twist to this, is what I would say. I hope that there's a twist to this. I don't know who of these people could potentially be, you know, like somebody else, but, you know, with Skrulls and spies and stuff, you never know. You never know. Hello, no one. All I can say is I do like the creative team, and I like that they've got a specific goal that's come out of a story that's already been told. So it's sort of already built a back mythology to build on. That's better than just sort of starting fresh and just saying, like, you know, one day Valentina De Fontaine put together 7 superheroes to go after threats. Like that would be kind of weak. But this is building on something that they've already told stories about. So that, I think, is starting on a stronger platform than other things. We'll see. Oh my God, yes. Avengers Under Siege, I might argue, is my favorite Avengers story. It's certainly way up there, easily in the top 5. Avengers Under Siege is fantastic. Late 80s story written by Roger Stern, artwork by John Buscema, and it featured Baron Zemo putting together a massive group of supervillains, and they absolutely wreck the Avengers. They just roll over them. It's amazing. It's amazing. And so it really feels like an accomplishment when the Avengers are able to sort of like rally and overcome this threat. Like, I've never felt a supervillain team feel closer to overall victory than in Under Siege. Yeah, that's true. ChemDog, right. Tom Palmer on inks. Tom Palmer was a fantastic inker. Always made things better. Always. Do I believe it will be good? I think that there's a chance for the comic to be good. It's too early for me to say if the movie would be good. I don't really know who's writing and directing the movie. Yeah, Hercules was put in a coma, a god, because they had like about 6 super strong supervillains just gang up on Hercules. It was just too much for him. The Wrecker, Bulldozer, Pile Driver, who's the other guy? Thunderball, Mr. Hyde, Tiger Shark. I don't know. They just all beat the crap out of some of these guys. Yes, David Harbour is always good. He really is. I'm curious. I'm legit curious about this, but some of that could be the fact that I like the creative team and I like the original Thunderbolts. There have definitely been a lot of takes on Thunderbolts that don't really excite me that much. Even when Warren Ellis, who I think is a very good writer, when he was on Thunderbolts, I just didn't find it that interesting. But there we go with Thunderbolts. And here's a fun thing I just thought I'd mention. I don't tend to get a lot of variant covers here and there for a comic that I love. And if it's not hard to get, I don't go too far out of my way, I will admit. But Marvel's doing a bunch of variant covers with sidekicks, but they're not really actual characters. It's all based on the idea of the current Spider-Man book has a sidekick named Spider-Boy. I'm going to okay. That's Spider-Boy. He's like this 10-year-old sidekick to Spider-Man that nobody seems to remember, but he claims to have always been around. So, for fun, a bunch of the Marvel comics are going to have what they call new Champions variants. Champions has been a superhero team most recently with teens. So, they're just letting artists go nuts and come up with a supposed sidekick to all these characters. Like, for instance, on Ghost Rider here, this character, she's got roller skating powers. This one is by Peach Momoko, so you know that'll sell well. It's a sidekick to Storm, has like the white hair and has like these storm belts. This is like a teenager wearing the colors of Doctor Strange, but like otherwise kind of grungy street level stuff. And they're making like dozens of these. So it's just a fun idea, I guess. That said, some of these look really cool, I feel like. And I wouldn't be surprised if they look cool enough to inspire a writer to retroactively turn that into a real character. The one that I was most amused by, I think, has to be the Ghost Rider sidekick on roller skates. It's just crazy. Let's see. Hyperion's sidekick should be Hyperioff. Thank you for the for the joke. A Ghost Rider sidekick. I love it. Yeah. Yeah, Spider-Boy is not bad. I do feel like they're pushing it really hard. At the same time, the actual story is taking its time, and he's kind of interesting. He's kind of interesting. Hell on Wheels. Maybe it should be Belle on Wheels, since it's a lady. I don't know. Belle on Wheels. True. Yeah, Gwenpool sort of did start as like a cover idea that, yeah. Ghost Rider should honestly, like, I think just be grabbing any vehicle nearby. You know what I had as an idea yesterday? I feel like Batman always has his tech working. If I could write Batman, I realized the other day, what I'd have is like he's cut off from some of his money, basically, or Wayne Tech has problems. And so I'd have things like his Batmobile have problems, like it just doesn't start one day. And he has to, like, Batman has to grab a nearby car, just grab like a 1997 Toyota Corolla to chase the Riddler. I feel like that would be interesting, like putting Batman in a more street level situation, taking away his gadgets, at least the reliability of his gadgets. I don't know. That was just an idea that popped in my head the other day. So sometimes these little variants and fun ideas, you realize maybe there's a little bit of meat to those. Maybe there's a little meat to chew on. So, something we've talked about here, and anyone following comics is probably a little familiar with, is that, sorry, I'm trying to center this a little bit more. Let's go like that and like that. There. I guess that's the best I can center it. So, Miss Marvel apparently died in last month's Amazing Spider-Man. She doesn't have her own title right now, so she died in somebody else's. That was literally a month ago, and this week there was a new book that came out called Fallen Friend, The Death of Miss Marvel. I'm going to review it shortly. I actually thought that this was a pretty good book, folks. It is gimmicky. It's gimmicky that they're killing her off, and we know that she's coming back. I've got some news to that effect. But what this focuses on is, like, her supporting cast talking about what they thought of her. That includes normal people. It includes some superheroes. And I felt like it was fairly emotional. I thought that this was well written. I like Miss Marvel. I think Kamala Khan is a really likable and interesting character. But one thing Marvel did this week is they released a bonus page to Fallen Friend. As in, at the back, there's a QR code. I'm going to get that super chat in just a sec. Yeah. So, just to explain, we've got the end and an ad, and then we've got a QR code. That QR code takes you to this page that I am showing you here. So Marvel only released this once the comic book came out. And essentially it's like Cyclops walking by the funeral. I don't know why he's even in the area, because he didn't go to this like sort of service. And Wolverine did. And he's like, yeah, what are you doing here, bub? And all these superheroes going like, hey, you like Kamala. Why didn't you come? That's a jerk move. And he's like, you don't understand right now, but you will soon. I think that makes it pretty damn obvious that Cyclops knows that he can bring Miss Marvel back. Because if you haven't been following X-Men for the last several years, all the mutants have united on an island, and they found out that like 5 of them have powers that can work together to revive dead mutants. So it looks like she's being brought back. She's going to be revived with the Krakoan protocols. Which in a way would be fine if like this character had been dead for 5 years. I go, oh, what a clever use. But it's like, she's been dead a month and they're already saying like, well, she'll be right back. This is really well written. It's really emotional, but it doesn't carry as much weight as it could because the last page essentially tells us, but guess what? She's coming back. So she's not really dead. Yes, these people are having real emotions. They think she's dead, but whatever. Let me acknowledge this super chat. I may have to bail on the live stream, but I'm looking forward to seeing what comics you picked up. Great show so far. Thank you, TJ. I'm really excited to talk about them. So thank you very much for that. I sincerely appreciate it. The X-Men can get a little convoluted, but at one point, Beast brought the original 5 X-Men, including Cyclops, from when they were kids, when they first became X-Men, into the present to sort of show the modern day Cyclops that he was drifting away from his moral compass. And then it was tricky to get them back. So the original X-Men were like in the present for a long time. And that teenage version of Cyclops definitely had a crush on Kamala. They were on the Champions together. Off topic, I saw Guar a few days ago. Bloody fun. That's really cool, man. I'm sure that they produce a great show still. I'm talking to a comic book reading audience, and even I'm finding it a little tough to share all the convoluted stuff about X-Men. It really is the one thing that keeps people from reading them. Although they do have several great stories in there. They really do. Yeah, I feel like why even kill her off? I feel like it was done for marketing purposes, if I'm being honest. I really do. Zeb Wells writes the Spider-Man book. He also was a co-writer on the Marvels movie, which is using her. I think that he was like, we'll kill her off for just a little bit and bring her back, and that'll give some buzz to the character. I don't know that for a fact. He hasn't said that that's what he was doing, but I think it could have been possible. I also think that Marvel wanted to bring her back as a mutant to bring her a little closer to their MCU version. Although they have released statements that say, even if Kamala is a mutant, she's still an Inhuman. That isn't being retconned out of existence. She might literally be both, which is technically possible. It's possible. I don't know if that will change her powers or not, but tell you what, let's go on to the next piece of news, because I've got a little bit of Kamala Khan news this week. We also got this week. Marvel announced that Miss Marvel is coming back in her own title called Miss Marvel, the New Mutant. And as you can see, her costume has been slightly redesigned. She now has an X-Men symbol on both her belt and her shoulder. Oh, and I guess even her fists, now that I look at it. But important to the character, and I do appreciate this, it seems like she also still has her embiggening powers. Like this, it doesn't look like this is a change of powers necessarily. So she's a mutant. She's a mutant and an Inhuman, I guess. At least for now. This new series, here's something that's interesting, though. It's going to be co-written by Iman Vellani. That's the actress who plays Kamala Khan in the TV and movies. She's a legit real nerd. She's been shopping at this comic book store here up in Canada forever. She used to read the Miss Marvel comics, so she's very similar to the character of Miss Marvel in terms of being like Miss Marvel is a fan of the Avengers and various superheroes, especially Captain Marvel, and Iman Vellani was a fan of the comic book superheroes, including Miss Marvel. So that is kind of cool. She's going to co-write it with Sabir Perzada. They've got art by Carlos Gomez and Adam Gorham. The new suit. This new suit was designed by Jamie McKelvey. Jamie McKelvey designed the Captain Marvel suit for Carol Danvers. When Carol Danvers switched from being Warbird and Miss Marvel and Binary and all and became Captain Marvel, Jamie McKelvey designed that. And the new series will have covers by Sarah Pacelli with a variant one for the first issue by Art Germ. I'm curious about your thoughts on that. A mutant and an Inhuman? Laughing. Okay. To be fair, Carol Danvers did go back to X-Men with Chris Claremont's run, so makes sense. Claremont always had Carol Danvers fairly tied into the X-Men. That is true. Kamala was supposed to have been a mutant. That's true. That's true. Originally, the idea, just to be clear, so this isn't completely out of left field. When the character was being thought up, the original plan was to have her be simply a mutant. But the leadership at the time didn't want to create any new mutants or promote any new X-Men characters because at that point in time, they didn't own the rights to the movie stuff. And they didn't want to, they were going through a thing where they killed off Wolverine and just used Old Man Logan for a while. They brought in, like I was just saying, the original X-Men as teenagers. So they were doing new ideas, but they weren't creating like any new characters. And so it was decided instead that Marvel should promote the Inhumans, which really never connected with readers in a huge way. But Kamala Khan is certainly, I think, the best Inhuman. I mean, I guess you could be a fan of Black Bolt or Karnak or Crystal, but she's an Inhuman. But it was still an original idea. It was an original idea. Let's see. Mike, always good to have you here, buddy. I just hope they can keep telling stories that appeal to all ages and can stand on their own. I hope so, too. I hope so, too. It's, I'm trying to be hopeful because I like this character. And I am curious to see what like an actress who's played her, she's probably tried her best to really get into this character's head. So maybe she does have an idea of how to keep Kamala. What is the point of killing her? I think it's just marketing stuff because they're bringing her right back. Is Quake an Inhuman in the comics or was that a show only thing? I think Quake is an Inhuman. Daisy Johnson? I'm pretty sure she's an Inhuman in the comics. I don't know for a fact. I'd have to look it up. Yeah, the Riddler series that's being written by Paul Dano is really, really good. It's really good. All right. One more piece of Miss Marvel news, so hope you guys are fans. Disney has decided to put Miss Marvel on network television. Miss Marvel is going to air on ABC. All 6 episodes of the Disney Plus show will air on ABC across 2 Saturdays. August 5th, they're going to show the first 3 from 8 to 11, and then the following week, the next 3. Why would they do that? Well, the Marvels movie with this character comes out in November. I think it's definitely to increase the general public's knowledge of the character. If you didn't know, ABC is owned by Disney, so it's still a Disney channel that they're showing this through. Yeah, it makes sense. There's been no Marvel stuff on network television for live action MCU type stuff for about 3 years. I think that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ended 3 years ago now. But I think it's good to expose this character to more people. I like that. I like the show. Yeah, I thought it was good. Thanks for confirming, Black Phoenix. Quake is an Inhuman in the comics. Her dad is Mr. Hyde and her mom was an Inhuman. Okay, so they actually were really accurate to that. Technically, Netflix Daredevil was produced through ABC. Yeah, but it didn't air on network television. Would they earn money from advertising for showing it on ABC? Of course, yeah. Yep. Miss Marvel was a decent show, but the Clandestine were lackluster. Oh, I guess I could see that, but also like the Clandestine was never like a huge part of the Marvel comics, so I really didn't care too much that they made some changes to them. I didn't care too much. I liked Miss Marvel. I liked her family and friends, and I thought Damage Control was decent. I also thought that Red Dagger was pretty interesting. Yeah. How does this affect Peter Parker? Well, Peter was working with Kamala, not as superheroes, like in their civilian identities. Kamala was interning at Osborne Industries and worked with Peter, so they did become basically friends for a while. And so he's pretty broken up about the fact that Kamala sacrificed herself to save Mary Jane Watson. Eh. I feel like in and of itself, not great. Not great for Miss Marvel as a character. Maybe like 5 to 10 years from now, it'll just give them a bit of a history. We'll see. It wasn't a perfect show, by the way, but I thought overall it was fairly fun. I thought that they hired a lot of good actors. The family stuff was legit interesting. The family and school stuff with just Kamala. She's a good character. That's a lot of Marvel stuff. Oh, but I'm not done. Apparently, Marvel is going to introduce a new Punisher. And why not? Basically, the last 12-issue series that they did, written by Jason Aaron, they didn't exactly kill off Frank Castle, but he gave up calling himself the Punisher. He got transported to a place called Weird World, which is just another dimension full of monsters. And he's doing what he can to protect orphans, a bunch of children there. We'll see if he ever comes back to being the Punisher, but I guess it's time for a newer idea. As to who it is, that's, I guess, a mystery that Marvel will announce at San Diego Comic-Con. But will it still be a Punisher that goes around, killing? I don't know. They've obviously designed a new skull emblem here that, it's still the idea of the Punisher, but he's got sci-fi type guns instead of, I don't know, Glocks and stuff like that. The Punisher is a mutant now. Yes, his power, ironically, is to spit bullets out of his butthole. They are very Liefeld guns, aren't they, Chad? They look a little bit like vacuum cleaners. The creator of the Punisher is coming back as the Punisher. Punisher 2099. Nick, that's an interesting guess here. Hold on. Nick Fury Jr. is my guess. That's an interesting idea. I wonder. They've got a bit of an outline here, though, and I feel like there's hair here, and Nick Fury Jr. shaves his head bald, so I don't think so, but I don't know. I can't give that away. Am I playing the Punisher? Am I Pace Pop Pete taking on the mantle of the Punisher? I can't say. I can't say. Maybe. Dude, I don't care that some people didn't love it. I thought that Frankencastle was a fantastic Punisher story that really told us something different about the character. I liked it. I liked it a lot. Bishop. Misty Knight. Interesting idea. George Santos. Yeah, I don't think he'll be free to do that. So we'll see. Frankencastle was brilliant. Nice. We will obviously have a bunch of news by next show because a lot will probably get talked about at Comic-Con. That'll be a fun show next week. So I don't know if it was last week or the week before. I think it was the week before that, where we heard that there were certain neon variants for DC's Night Terrors event that didn't come out looking right, that it didn't really look like neon inks. Apparently that was an accurate report. DC has literally asked retailers to return the comics to them. So that implies a misprint, although they didn't use that language. This is an example of one of them. because, of course, if something's being recalled, all of a sudden it generates interest, whether it's, a mistake or good or whatever. But if you look on eBay, there are a few auctions, more than a few auctions, and they seem to be going for at least $20 up to about $30. Those are completed sales that I looked at. So yeah, looks like DC just had a printing problem getting these neon inks to work. The books themselves cost about $2 more than usual to get that. I personally, that's not the kind of gimmick that would appeal to me a whole lot. I don't know. Punisher's sidekick should be called Uzi Boy and just be a regular gun. So he just calls a gun his sidekick. Okay. Night Terror sold better than I expected. I'm not surprised that it sold well. It doesn't really connect a whole lot to me. It's not a bad idea, but I think that it's an idea that can only go so far. Like, it's an idea that I think would have been an interesting arc in, say, Justice League or something like that. Justice League Dark. But something like 42 or 46 issues across 2 months, it's just too much. It's just too much. Well, it's a mistake, Jeremy. I think that brownish stuff is supposed to be either green or yellow. Yeah. So we'll see. DC is saving you money for 2 months. Yeah, same here. I picked up the first sort of prequel issue and reviewed it last week. It wasn't that it was outright bad, but I also felt like everything they were telling in the story could have probably been condensed to 4 or 5 pages. I don't know. I don't love it. I don't love it. I gave it a shot. What are the comics that are influencing the upcoming Superman Legacy movie? I think we had an idea that All-Star Superman might be one of those because director James Gunn, who's also writing it, I should explain, had tweeted photos of him reading that book. And that makes sense. I think it's a great Superman book, great Superman story. Well, this week, DC Universe Infinite, which is their digital comics reader app, they tweeted, "Looking forward to Superman Legacy? So are we. Read the comics that inspired the upcoming film on DC Universe Infinite," and they listed 4 of them: Superman Birthright, All-Star Superman, Superman Brainiac, and Superman Ending Battle. I don't know Superman Brainiac or Superman Ending Battle. Looking at this, I'm trying to piece together what it could be about. I don't know necessarily. But since one of them is Superman Brainiac, I will say that could be a potentially really good villain to start off a Superman movie with. We've never seen Brainiac in film. Animated and TV, yes, but never on film. Brainiac is a great villain, ties to Superman's mythology, so you don't necessarily have to go out of your way to set up a whole lot more than what you're doing with Superman's history. Pretty good opponent, matched both physically and mentally very well. Unique. I think that Brainiac is a good idea. Superman Brainiac was Jeff Johns. It was pretty good. Let's see. Why not Parasite? I don't know. Parasite is a good physical match for Superman, but I don't feel that, I don't think that Parasite is strong enough to support an entire movie as the sole villain. Yes, we'll get Brainiac and his giant spider. Oh, wait, the Flash already gave that to us. Thanks. Finally, I'm probably the only of few persons who doesn't like Zack Snyder movies. Just knowing the next one will be directed by James Gunn is fantastic. I didn't really love the Zack Snyder movies either. I think that his director's cut of Justice League was a vast improvement on the theatrically released version, but I didn't really like Man of Steel or Batman versus Superman. I just didn't care for either of those. I felt it was just too grim for Superman, and that his parents were very out of character. It looked good. Good actors. Certainly a well-done cast. I think Henry Cavill and Amy Adams, pretty fantastic. But I just didn't love those movies. I kind of wish I did, but I just didn't. Yeah, I think most incarnations, Brainiac is like an artificial intelligence from Krypton. The original one was more like a guy, but I think he was still tied to Krypton somehow. I kind of forget the Golden Age version. Or Silver Age. Yeah. Mr. Mxyzptlk could make for a very interesting story. Let's see. Snyder is all style and zero substance. I think if he's sort of writing it, I tend not to connect, but I do like a lot of the stuff that he's just directed. For instance, him and James Gunn made that Dawn of the Dead remake, and I like Dawn of the Dead and generally am not excited for remakes. While I still love the original a lot, I actually did like their Dawn of the Dead remake. I liked Zack Snyder's take on 300. It was stylistic, but I thought that actually added something to the story that we've kind of seen before. The story, I mean, not the style. I don't know. In this hey, Bronze Age nerd. In this version, Brainiac will be made by Mid-Journey prompts. Oh my god. You know, you could, though, do some sort of a riff on AI. There's something there. I don't know. Yeah, he is a good cinematographer. I think he's also like good at getting certain performances out of people. I just don't tend to love his storytelling. What was that one? Sucker Punch, with like the girls in the asylum that were all having crazy dreams, but like it's just super depressing. And he's his idea of like having Pa Kent like just sort of willingly die in a tornado to, I guess, teach Superman a lesson, but also telling him things like young Clark was like, should I have let that bus crash and like those kids die? And he's like, I don't know, maybe. I'm like, wait, keeping yourself like a secret is more important than saving lives? Or then in the Batman versus Superman one, his mother says like, you don't owe them anything, Clark. And I'm like, what kind of lessons are these people teaching Superman? So anyway, but so these are 4 books that they're saying are going to be used to inspire Superman Legacy. I think that Superman Birthright and All-Star Superman are pretty good options. So we'll see. We'll see. Sucker Punch was a terrible movie. I am there with you. I am there with you on that one. Here's some more Superman Legacy news. They added 4 actors to the movie playing other superheroes. James Gunn did say that like this is squarely centered around Superman. It is Superman's story, but he was using some of these characters to flesh out the world in a specific story sense. So we've got actress Isabella Merced, I'm guessing at her name, playing Hawkgirl. Eddie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific. Nathan Fillion, of course, I mean, it's a James Gunn movie. Nathan Fillion as Green Lantern Guy Gardner. And I love this one, Anthony Kerrigan as Metamorpho. I love Metamorpho. Really underrated superhero. And I think that Anthony Kerrigan is fantastic. I don't know if anybody here watches Barry. He's fantastic on that show. He's hilarious, but kind of dangerous. I think that he's got the look, and I just like give him major props for making his way in Hollywood successfully as a guy with alopecia. You know, he said in interviews, a lot of people said like, look, you're not going to be able to make it in Hollywood if you don't have hair, like for eyebrows and stuff. And he's like, screw you, I am going to be successful. I didn't watch the show Gotham, but my understanding is he was also a recurring character on that. Maybe somebody there can tell me. Oh, here we go. Comic Core says Anthony was so good in Gotham as Victor Zsasz. Interesting. I think he's great. He kind of looks like Metamorpho. I think he's a great choice there. I really do. Good for him. Rex Mason, archaeologist, transformed into a superhero who can become any element that's found within the human body. And we've got lots of tiny amounts of various compounds and minerals that he can turn into. Yeah, you're right. Michael Berryman did do very well. Another guy with alopecia. So yeah. No, it is not going to be a Justice League movie. At least James Gunn says that is not his goal. He's not trying to plant these characters for thinking about spin-offs. He said that he had a specific idea that needed other superheroes. These were the ones he chose for that. Here's only because 2 of these are in the team. I do wonder if by any chance this is a version of like the Terrifics, and instead of like what is it, like Plastic Man or something, they're adding, say, Hawk Girl. I don't know. But that's just wild speculation. I think it'll work really well. I'm curious. Well, we might have it before, the MCU Fantastic Four, but we have gotten 3 other theatrically released Fantastic Four movies, as well as the unreleased one. I doubt they're all going to die. No way. I don't know. I guess they're all expendable technically, but I don't think so. I really don't. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I was mentioning the Roger Corman one. That's so funny that people kind of have come around and like that now. Main titles I'm curious about are The Authority and Swamp Thing. Yeah, maybe Supergirl, but I'm annoyed that those Tom King's books went up in value. My best advice is to get the trade paperback. It is a good story, in my opinion. I think. Did anybody big die in the last Guardians movie? I think that's an exaggeration. I don't think he always kills off characters. I don't know. We'll see. I wish I had somebody to riff on with that. Another Superman piece of news. I don't know if any of you have watched the new animated show that they've got on Adult Swim and Max, the HBO streaming thing. It feels so weird to call it Max. People don't know what I'm talking about. I'm like, HBO, but, streaming. I've watched it. I do like it. I think it's probably a better introductory Superman thing than maybe somebody that knows Superman really well. But it's good. It's charming. It's very well animated. It is. It has good voice acting. It's got a new take on the type of stuff that Superman's going up against. It's pretty much all science-based. So there's some twists to some of his enemies. And what else? I like that they're focusing so much on Superman, Lois, and Jimmy and doing a bunch of workplace, real life stuff. I do like a lot of it. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I liked it a lot. So DC, the actual website, DC Comics, interviewed the producers of the My Adventures with Superman cartoon. And I found this part interesting. Producer Josie Campbell said that there were shonen influences. Maybe that's overstating it, but I think she means shonen. She said specifically, there's a lot of anime that influenced us. It's very fun for us that it's going to be on Toonami because we were kids who grew up watching Toonami. Like Adult Swim created us. So, Sailor Moon, yes, there's a little magical girl. She means there's a little magical girl in it, not there is a magical girl. Dragon Ball, we talked about that a lot. We talked about Neon Genesis Evangelion and Gundam. Some of it is in the way things look. Some of it is in the titles, having little references and Easter egg shout outs to anime. I think I see what they're talking about there. Clark's transformation scenes, the sci-fi robots. There's definitely some influences by anime, no question. There really is. Are they? Cartoon Network studio closing down? I haven't heard anything about that. Yeah, I liked the third episode too. I liked as I was watching it, I all of a sudden was like, oh, this is going to be Silver Banshee. Like it was like a sci-fi take on her, and I was like, okay. And then of course you realize, okay, if every villain is getting like sci-fi technology to turn them into like these powerhouses that can like challenge Superman, where does that come from? It's got to be apocalypse technology. So I would imagine the finale will have Darkseid or at least one of his chief lieutenants, because there's no question that like all this technology, in my opinion, has to be coming from Apocalypse. In the comics, that always like Intergang is always fun, like getting their weapons from Darkseid. You don't like the new design for Deathstroke? Well, I don't think he's a complete character yet, for what it's worth. Visually, it has some Evangelion influences. There are some giant robots that are definitely influenced by that style. Yeah, I think that there's a very intentional decision not to use Lex Luthor, and if there's probably a second season, I would imagine he comes in. But they're definitely trying to work on focusing on the superheroes and not letting the villains overwhelm the story yet. Oh, okay. Didn't hear about Cartoon Network closing. Yeah, Jack Wade plays Clark Kent / Superman, and he's very charming. You know, I like him as an actor. I really do. And it's kind of cool that he's found a bit of a niche doing a lot of voice acting as well. Because I like how goofy he is as Boimler on Star Trek Lower Decks. And now he's doing Superman. Also, just, you know, he'll do very well at conventions for a long time because he's got The Boys and he's got, you know, My Adventures with Superman. He's going to do very well. You're right. It could be Kryptonian technology. They are presenting Jor-El and Krypton as more of something that sort of scares Superman right now because he doesn't fully understand it. And like he can't even understand like Jor-El, like he's speaking Kryptonian. And he wants to, you know, he loves his parents that he's grown up with. He's kind of scared by that. And I like that. I think that this is a very fair comment by Daniel. Young adult Superman. I think that's fair. It doesn't feel like it's 100% aimed at somebody like me, but I can look at it and appreciate that it's well done. Yep, a week and a half, we get Boimler in live action. Cartoon Network refuted those rumors, not shutting down, just turning 30, their quote. Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't see anything in news that I needed to talk about there, but who knows? DC Universe Infinite. I'm not subscribed to that right now, but I would like to read these books, so it's something I'm literally thinking about right now. They've added some manga adaptations to their digital reading app. They announced that Joker, One Operation, Superman versus Meshi, and Batman Justice Buster, which were all originally released in print through Kodansha over in Japan, are now going to be available to read on DC Universe Infinite. They also added some back issue manga stuff, like the Jiro Kuwata Bot manga series. So cool. So cool. The Batman and the Justice League was another, I guess, manga. I don't know much about that one. And the complete Batman Death Mask. So they've had other manga adaptations. All of that's getting added to their digital reader. And they did recently add a manga reading option so that you can read it the proper way. So I thought that was good. I think that was cool. You pre-ordered all three? Very cool. Yeah, because that's right. They're releasing these in print as well. They are. I've really enjoyed my DC Infinite subscription. Haven't read the manga yet, but I'm going to. Yeah, why not? Infinite has saved me thousands of dollars this year. Shout out to DC Universe Infinite for helping me kick my physical comic book hoarding addiction. I went through a nice period where I was using the Marvel reader, and that was kind of nice to just have less stuff and go back. I think that that's my favorite aspect personally of these digital readers is going into back catalog because it's so easy, you know, just looking it up and being able to read older stories. Yeah. The Justice League manga is okay. Okay. That's fair. Thanks for saying that. Justice Buster, Justice Buster, Justice Buster, Justice Buster, Justice Buster. It's not easy, right? Let's see. Had the app since episode 5 of Harley Quinn. Oh, that's right. I forgot. But does the DC Universe Infinite app give you access to the shows as well? I guess I forgot if that was a part of it. Oh my God, yes. I would love for the Spider-Man manga and the Spider-Man TV show to be brought over here. I would really love that. They brought over almost all of the Spider-Man manga here, but it was all like colorized and I think slightly edited. I would really love a more manga presentation of it, like a more honest presentation. We'll see. Yeah, Marvel's dropping the ball for not re-releasing a newer version of the Ryoichi Ikigami Spider-Man omnibus format. It's not that many issues. I feel like they're leaving money on the table there. It's something I would really, really like personally. I really like it. Oh, okay. DC Universe Infinite did disable the video streaming. Okay. Not since HBO Max. Got it. Got it. I saw that in the app, but they're only releasing one chapter from the Tankobons. What a tease. What a tease. I have most of the run of Spider-Man manga. I'm only missing one issue in the whole run. Hey, EJ, lovely to see you here, pal. Ryoichi Spider-Man was my first Spider-Man. Oh, that's interesting because I've read it. It's dark. It's dark. It's a dark take on Spider-Man. And I agree with you here, Chad. Like Marvel and DC seem to often be very happy to leave money on the table and just do business as usual. I don't feel like they've got a lot of incentive to overly monetize themselves. I don't think they're going anywhere. I really don't. I know some people will say like, they're gonna go away. I don't think so. But I don't feel like they ever have any real fire or passion to grow. Because there's a lot of dials I think that they could try at least. I picked up the first volume, but I haven't read it yet, Wayne. I picked up the first volume. I need to keep going because I wanted to draw a little and also show some comics. So I'm going too slow. Let's get the show on the road. I would recommend looking this up. Hellboy released a small trailer, gameplay trailer for its upcoming video game. It was revealed at the ID at Xbox Digital Showcase. You can easily find it on YouTube now. It's from Good Shepherd Entertainment. The name of the game is Hellboy Web of Weird. It features a story co-written by Mike Mignola, and it looks so accurate to Mignola's style. It's in sort of a cell-shaded design. It seems to move really simply. It's different, but it's very accurate to the style of Mike Mignola, which it's cool to see translated like this. It's really interesting. Yup, it is one of Lance Reddick's final roles. He did a voice in it. It just looks cool. I don't know what platforms it's going to be on. Probably everything. Yeah, they did. They showed some new gameplay, and I think it looks so good. In fact, you know what? Can I show it? I'd probably get a copyright claim if I just showed it. I want to react to it, but I feel like it wouldn't work. So the story, built in 1962 by occultist Pasquale Deneveau. Yeah. The Butterfly House is actually a gateway into a terrible and fascinating dimension called the Weird. A BPRD agent sent on a reconnaissance mission to the mansion. Where did I lost my place? On a reconnaissance mission to the mansion, promptly goes missing. It's up to you as Hellboy, along with your team of Bureau agents, to find your missing colleague and uncover the secrets of the butterfly house. It looks and sounds cool to me. Show it and mute it. Let me see what I can do. Give me a sec. Okay, hold on 2 seconds. I'm gonna show something. How? How do I do this? I'm just trying something new here. Do you see what I mean about sort of a cell shaded style, but it still looks like Mignola. I like it. I'm very curious. I love Hellboy, so hopefully it's a good game when it comes out. But I definitely enjoy the look of it. So, just something to consider. Yep, taking advantage of the fact that I'm on a new PC that can, share this stuff. But I don't know. I feel like they're being very accurate to trying to get the style right. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It does sort of look like one of those games. Yeah. Beautiful Joe. Yeah. Let me add back where I was. It looks so good. I think it looks cool. Art style is convincing me, might buy it. It's unique. Um, Lance Reddick on voice, Mike Mignola making the story, good graphics. All we need for sure is is the gameplay good? Because I think we can count on the visuals, the story, and the voice acting to be good. I am using a new computer, Steve. Thank you so much for the super chat. It seems to be showing everything without any real hitches. I don't know. Have you guys noticed any real lag or anything? I feel like I'm getting as crisp a signal as I've ever shared when I broadcast. I'm happy with it. Oh man, I love that one. Yeah, I love Hellboy. I think it's just a great, great book. No, live action gargoyles. I'll be honest, I never watched that cartoon. I think I was like in college or something when it came out. So yeah, I just I'm not super aware of gargoyles. I'm sure that there's an audience for it. No stutter for the first time. No, it's pretty good. It's better. No lag at all. Good. It's been perfect. It's so funny. I really thought at first that it was the internet, and then I slowly was like, wait a minute. Maybe even though I like the computer I was using was a powerful machine when Chrissy built it, but I guess things just change over time. This thing looks like something out of sci-fi, by the way. Oh, you know what? Here, I'm gonna show you a little bit of what it looks like. So it's got look at this thing. I don't know why it needs like these colors. Just sort of shows that it's working. And then you get to see the inside because this is just a glass panel. So I get to see the inner workings while it's streaming. Let me see if I can get this angled right. Is that good? Yeah, I think that's good. Anyway, at least check out Gargoyle's opening. Did it have a good opening? You know what, Wally? I lost my place reading Hellboy at a certain point, and I haven't had time to figure out exactly where I left off. So I need to catch up in trade paperback form, unfortunately. Yeah, the color is just there to look cool. That's kind of what I figured. It's kind of funny, though. Stick my finger in it? Okay. Ah! Where did I get it? Oh, you know what? I was ready to go down to Portland, Oregon, because save on the sales tax. But then I was like a couple days away from there being Amazon Prime Day, where they have all the big sales and I went, well, I don't love supporting Amazon, but sometimes their deals are really hard to beat. And sure enough, I found this HP Omen that had pretty much everything I needed. And I went, yeah, it was a huge discount too. So thank you, by the way, to everybody here. A lot of you guys have been donating some nice super chats for a while. And I was just sort of considering all of that to go to a new computer. So in addition to being able to stream like this, it means I could also do interviews that will look more crisp moving forward, as well as now when I edit and render, that should go a lot faster. Just to be clear, I've been doing everything on Comic Tropes on the same machine since day one, which is a Microsoft Surface, which is now like about 7 years old. It's all been done on a Microsoft Surface, which I think is like, a little bit of praise for the Surface, that it's been able to handle it and everything. But it was time to upgrade. It was definitely time to upgrade. Butter smooth broadcast. That's what I'm looking for. And if you stay till the very end, I'll cover myself in butter and deep fry myself. Yay. Yay. All right. Let's get some news done. But thank you all for helping me get something new. Stan Lee comics. It just blows my mind. Stan Lee had a couple things that he wrote or co-wrote that are still getting released. And that I'm okay with. I really am. But this idea that he had like sort of unfinished concepts that like various companies own and they're like still trying to monetize and sell. I'm like, Jesus, just like let these unfinished ideas go. I don't know, but yeah, Stan Lee Comics is a real company we will talk about here. You're a true credit to the comic book industry. Oh, that's nice of you to say, Sigma. You clearly work hard to create a channel that is informative and fun for all. Kudos to you and much success. I do try to make it fun. I try. Hey, Chuck, haven't seen you online in ages. I hope you're doing well, buddy. Thank you. Yeah, Stripperella. Hey, at least that one, I guess, got to air and, made him some money or made companies money. But so here's what we're talking about with Stan Lee Comics. There's an e-publisher, pretty sure they're from Canada, called Legible. Okay, that's an okay name. I'm judging every little bit here. They released a statement saying that they will be able to, quote, bring never before released Stan Lee characters to life thanks to its partnership with Cartoon Studios, controlling partner of Stan Lee Universe LLC. The deal gives Legible exclusive global rights to develop and publish a select number of new Stan Lee characters and storylines. Not written by Stan, just ideas for characters that never got published. So yeah, there's a lot of companies that have rights to various Stan Lee things. I don't think that this was the same company that had any scandals with it. But we will see. Legible, it publishes stuff through e-readers. And I don't even think that they necessarily use their own app. I think they do it through stuff like Nook and Kindle and stuff like that. I don't know. Anybody here excited for some superheroes that Stan Lee didn't get to write while he was still alive? It's too much, man. It's his name. His name is still so associated with comics. You ask like the average non-comics reader who Stan Lee is, and a lot of people will know. They won't know Jack Kirby, but they'll know Stan Lee. So I guess it's got name recognition to it. Thank you, Joe. I'm glad the computer is working well. It does. Looks great. The stream is perfect as well. I'm so glad that it's better. That really is nice. Oh, that's right. Yeah, Key and Peele did do one where where Jordan Peele played Stan Lee, didn't he? And he had all sorts of weird ideas that were just like clearly about his life as a retired guy being like super cool and awesome. I don't think that this is the same company that has the rights to Femazons. That is something like Stanley Media, or I think Stanley Holdings, and they're selling off all their stuff. Stanley sounds like the guy who sold his soul to the devil, but the devil can't collect because he had sold it to so many other people before. Yeah, we got a real John Constantine situation here. John Constantine. All right. A couple more pieces of news, and then we'll get into some reviews. Mad Cave Studios, not a publisher I'm overly familiar with, but I do feel like I keep seeing their name get mentioned in news articles, so I guess I got to pay attention a little bit more. And they just got the license to produce Flash Gordon comics. I think Flash Gordon's pretty cool, folks. I grew up seeing Flash Gordon newspaper strips. I don't know where, but I definitely was seeing some of them. There was a cartoon, Defenders of the Earth, that had Flash and the other creation of Alex Raymond. Was it Mandrake the Magician? I think so. And of course, the Flash Gordon movie starring Sam Jones, who I met during my days as Omega the superhero. There's video out there of us in some radio station together. Anyway, I like Flash Gordon. Flash Gordon has a lot of potential. But Mad Cave announced that they got the license to Flash Gordon from King Features Syndicate. They've got plans to do 3 things. They're going to do reprints of the Alex Raymond originals. That's worth reading. News stories, original comic book stories. Okay. And a young adult aimed segment doing graphic novels. I guess they've got like an imprint that does young adult comics. So we'll see. We'll see. Oh, yeah. Al Williamson. Oh, man. What an artist. Al Williamson stuff, too. I'm down for some Flash Gordon. I used to read the modern strips in Jamaica as a kid. Very cool. Mad Cave publishes some random, really fun series, but they're hit and miss. Fair enough. You know, they're newer. Yeah. The era that the ideas are from doesn't appeal to me. Oh, this is about Stanley. Sure. I have the complete serial DVD of Flash Gordon. I didn't even know that was out there. That's interesting. That's really cool. That Omega video you did, I watch it almost every day. Oh my goodness. Weird time in my life. Weird time. We've got 2 more pieces of news that I want to go over. One, this is so cool. Potentially, anyway. I haven't read the comic yet, but this is, wow, what a get. So obviously Skybound has a relationship with Universal, right? Because if you didn't know, that Renfield movie came from Universal Studios and Skybound. That was an idea that Robert Kirkman had, and then he had Ryan Ridley write it. Ryan Ridley has written like a bunch of stuff like Rick and Morty, Community, etc. But now they're going to make comic books based on the classic Universal monster movies, starting with Dracula. So this is specifically based on the Universal version. They're going to start with a 4-issue series written by James Tynion IV. Pretty amazing guy for writing horror these days. Art by Martin Simmons. I think a lot of people would like that too. Am I wrong? Or he's the guy that does Department of Truth, right? Because it's a pretty awesome look. I get a little bit of a vibe of Bill Sienkiewicz from Martin Simmons. It's going to come out October 25th, right in time for Halloween. That's smart marketing. And this one, from what I gathered, from what I was reading, it looks like it might be told from Dr. Seward's perspective. He was the father of Lucy, who Dracula was one of Dracula's victims. Yeah, I liked Renfield for what it was, actually. I did. Renfield was great. Skybound pulling a lot of W's. Does feel like they're doing well. Tynion has been on fire. Yeah, he's doing a great job. Yeah, when does he sleep? He produces so much. But I love the idea of him writing Dracula, the Dracula. I like Dracula, by the way. The only thing I could think that would be potentially more interesting to me is if they did a take on the old Hammer versions of Dracula. I really like the Hammer horror movies of the 70s. The same way I kind of like Godzilla movies. Not all of them are good, but I kind of love them anyway. The same way I kind of like 1980s Friday the 13th movies. A lot of them aren't necessarily good, but I kind of like them anyways. Sleep is for tortoises. That's good. That's good. Will Tom Cruise write a series? Will Tom Cruise cruise? Can Abbott and Costello be far behind? We can only hope. Maybe they'll update that. Like, who would the modern comedian be to put in a Dracula movie? And it has to be a duo. What kind of comedian duos are there that could go into a horror movie and face, I don't know, we'll say the Nun from the Nun movies. We'll come up with a modern comedian duo, and they're going to go into the next, like the Nun Part 3, the Nun versus blank and blank. I don't know. I'm trying to brainstorm like a good comedian duo. Jay and Silent Bob, maybe in the late 90s or early 2000s. Well, hey, Jack Black and Kyle Gass, I'd be down for that. James Franco ain't getting any work. But we'll say Seth Rogen and maybe, who's his friend from Canada? Jay Baruchel. That could be fun. The Rock and Kevin Hart. The Rock and Kevin Hart versus the Nun. That's good. That's good. Dr. Seward ran the asylum and was mentored by Van Helsing. He wasn't Lucy's father. Oh, I might have misunderstood what was going on. I might not have read it carefully. Whoops. Let's see. Christopher Lee as Dracula and Peter Cushing as Van Helsing are the best. They totally are. I'm with you on the first half of that. Ken Jeong is great. Pauly Shore, let's give Bobby Lee some work. How about Ken Jeong and Bobby Lee versus the Nun? Or who else? Like, who else is like in horror? Like, let's have them go up against Megan, the artificial intelligence robot. Jason Segel and Seth Rogen versus the Babadook. Danny McBride and Walt Goggins versus Freddy Krueger again. Bring back twins Arnold and Danny DeVito. Okay, yeah, they would be good together. I would be up for that. Eric Andre. The Rock, you don't want none of this. All right, these are good. Oh, Key and Peele would be nice, but of course, Jordan Peele has announced that he's no longer going to act. He only wants to direct. Rich Evans. Oh my God. Yes, put Rich Evans in a horror movie, like a mainstream horror movie. Oh, that's so good. That's just so good. Boy, there could be a lot of fun here, right? Take that idea of Abbott and Costello meet the Wolfman versus Frankenstein, but take like a modern comedian. By the way, if you want to see a funny show, I just discovered this one. It is on Apple streaming service, whatever that is, Apple Plus. I don't know. Apple TV. The After Party. It's a murder mystery show, but it's really funny. I really like it. No, I think that they're still buddies. And I don't even like the Nun movies. I was just using that as like, what's some sort of modern franchise? I'm just thinking of franchises. Put like Seth Rogen and Jason Segel in a Saw movie. Oh my God. This guy's getting all eviscerated. This is so gross. Yeah, Abby and Alana from Broad City. That would be good too. That would be good. After Party is great. Thank you for backing me up on that one. Thank you. It's really good. Rich Evans and Ken Jeong meet the Nun. Yeah. Oh, cool. A super chat. Sweet Fancy Moses It's the Tropes verse. Hello, Chris and fellow Tropers, Troopers. I'm curious if you're a fan of The Dark Tower by Stephen King and or the Marvel Comics by Peter David, because I'm obsessed. I love the Dark Tower series. A lot of people did not love the original final book in it, which I can understand because they built up the Crimson King as sort of this ultimate adversary across all of the books. And when they finally face him, he's very diminished. But the journey to get there is what's amazing. And what changes with the titular gunslinger is amazing. His quartet, just amazing characters. Boy, I would love for more people to know about the Dark Tower. I think it's just, I like Stephen King. And this idea of something where like the characters were literally crossing universes, like they go through the universe of The Stand. They meet characters from like Salem's Lot. Also, they come across the stuff from The Mist. It's so good. And I like the comics. I thought that they were interesting backstory that was well done and felt authentic to the characters and stuff. So yeah, it was not too bad. I did like that. Peter David J. Lee Dark Towers. They did several miniseries. And then I actually haven't read this, and it makes me feel like I'm a bad Dark Tower fan, but Stephen King released another book. It's something like The Wind in the Keyhole. I probably only have that sort of right, but that's like takes place in the middle, where like the gunslinger tells a story from his past. So I would like to read that. I need to. It's an interesting take on the multiverse where you feel like the stakes are real, and it's just amazing. And just the idea of sort of a cowboy as a modern version of a knight, a cowboy that like never misses his shot pretty much and can like reload faster than you can imagine, but is not super powered technically. Book 7 rules, but that criticism of the Crimson King is accurate. So happy to hear you're a fellow gunslinger. I also love the comic adaptation. Love it. I love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah. Dark Tower 4.5. I need to read it. We've got one last piece of news, and then I want to do some comics reviews. Red Sonja is a comic, and San Diego Comic-Con is going to have a panel honoring, apparently it's her 50-year history in comics. She's been in comics for 50 years. I do have issue 1, drawn by Frank Thorne, underrated artist. Very cool. They're going to have some panelists, including Jimmy Palmiotti, Amanda Connor, Amy Chu, Dan Panosian, and Mark Canton. And they're also going to debut the trailer for the Red Sonja movie starring Matilda Lutz. So hopefully that's good. We shall see. But I like the character of Red Sonja. I think in recent years, some of the reboots have like strengthened her and simplified her origin and made her, I don't know, given her more agency with her own story. I like Red Sonja. There have been several great comics through Dynamite. So yeah. Really? You came out when Red Sonja did? Frank Thorne is a master. I need that video from you soon. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Frank Thorne rules. He does. I'm glad to have that issue 1, just because I think he's an underrated, he's sort of a lecherous old man that drew really beautiful, voluptuous women, but he was good. He was good on Red Sonja. Yeah. Tell you what, let me add something here. Take this out and then switch to this. Yeah. Switch there. I'm going to give this some light. I'm going to shift this over a little bit. And I'm going to talk about some of the comics that came out this week. Let me shift this this way a little bit more, right? Yeah. Darn, the ring light really reflects. So first of all, we talked a little bit about this in the news. Fallen Friend, The Death of Miss Marvel. And I do agree that this is very much a sort of a cheapo marketing stunt, but they really do justice to the character of Miss Marvel, even if this is sort of a one-shot. G. Willow Wilson, Mark Waid, and Saladin Ahmed, very good writers. Takeshi Miyazawa, Humberto Ramos, and Andrea DeVito, very good artists. The first one is by, one of her co-creators, G. Willow Wilson. It takes place at the mosque that Kamala and her family attend, and features her closest friends from school talking about what makes her special, and the family showing up and talking about what makes her special. It's very charming. Wolverine shows up, and he adds some gravitas, I think, to that story. Captain Marvel shows up, has some things to say. Chapter 2 is primarily with Kamala's teammates from the Champions. Nova, Miles Morales, Amadeus Cho, Cassie Lang, Viv Vision, Ironheart. And they have a different perspective on what makes Kamala special, how she would stand up to people like the Avengers, even though they were her heroes, that she was a natural leader. There's some really interesting stuff to talk about here, and I liked it. I really did. And then we finally have a third story featuring a lot of sort of the mainstream superheroes giving their thoughts on what made this sort of next generation of superheroes special, specifically with Kamala. So, it isn't strictly necessary if we're bringing this character right back. But at the same time, this is sort of like the idea of, what if you could witness your own funeral to see, hopefully, the nice things that your family and friends have to say about you? That is what we get here. And that is kind of nice in a way. Yes, we know that we're getting Kamala back. At the same time, if you can get past that hurdle, this is a nice set of stories about what makes Kamala an interesting, special character. And I liked it. I will admit it. I didn't think I would like it. I didn't think I would, but it was well done. And a well done story is a well done story, no matter what the reasons behind it are. I'll put that one aside for a minute. Here's a book that I think is underrated. Joshua Williamson has written a bunch of DC stuff that I'm like, sorry guys, the last Crisis on Infinite Earths, the current Night Terrors. Sorry, it's not that the ideas are bad, it just isn't connecting with me. But this, I feel, is a very personal story that he's writing. This is Dark Ride. It doesn't hurt that he's paired with a really nice artist, Andre Bresson. And essentially it's about, like, not just a haunted amusement park, but like a demonically haunted amusement park. This issue finally gives us a face-to-face with the guy who made this park, and very likely did some sort of demonic pact to do that. We haven't seen that explicitly spelled out, but to get to know him, oh my God, he is so emotionally manipulative to his children. He's despicable, but it's really captivating reading. It really is. So this one doesn't necessarily feature a lot of like death and violence and stuff. It features a little bit of backstory to his children, his son and daughter, who are running the park, as well as this girl whose brother worked at the park and was killed, and she's investigating that. The park's son is trying to create it, is trying to help her figure that out. There's some scary stuff that happens in this, but some of the most scary stuff is just this like emotionally abusive, terrible family dynamic. I really recommend Dark Ride. It's only up to issue 7, so I'm sure that if it isn't out already, I've been reading it monthly, but if it isn't out yet, I'm sure that a 6-issue trade paperback has to be imminent. It's really, really cool. I guess you have to be a little into horror to love it, but it's got well-defined characters, good artwork, and a really rich backstory that it's hinting at. I went ahead and tried this new book from DC, World's Finest Teen Titans, because I've been loving writer Mark Waid's work on World's Finest Batman and Superman. So this takes place in that same world. How best to explain this? It's set in the modern day, but it isn't set in ongoing DC continuity too much. Because this is sort of like the Teen Titans in the modern day, but it's the original Teen Titans. Kid Flash, Aqualad, Wonder Girl, Speedy, Robin, and apparently they've added Bumblebee. And they work well together. The artwork is by Emanuela Lupacchino. And I would say that she sort of draws in a style that's influenced by people like, who am I thinking of? Stuart Immonen. I think Stuart Immonen has been a big influence on a current generation of artists. Oh yeah, ChemDog mentions the Chris Samnee cover. I mean, that'll sell it right there. Chris Samnee is really something special. But honestly, Emanuela Lupacchino is very good. And beyond doing some good superhero stuff, they've got some really good friction in the team, especially between Speedy and Robin. Specifically, Speedy is using a drone to live stream their adventures and get like publicity. And Robin is like, no, we should like be secret and stealthy, this, that, and the other, because it's about the influences that they each have from their mentors. And you get some scenes to that effect with like how Wonder Woman influences Wonder Girl, how Aquaman influences Aqualad, and how Aqualad doesn't really understand anything about social media and things like that. Batman saying that he trusts Robin, but he doesn't necessarily trust his teammates, and he doesn't think that this is a good idea. It's nice. It's good adventure. It looks good. As far as, just a superhero comic, you could do a lot worse than this. It's got everything that you need. It's got good adventure. It's got good team dynamics. Some romance, some arguments. It's good. It really is. I think that it's something I'll stick with for a little while to see where it goes. This is another underrated book that I want to mention. Deep Cuts. This is issue 3. Each one is about an era of jazz in America. And it's moving forward in time. We're now around 1940 in Kansas City. Each one is a standalone story. Very charming characters every single time. Good stakes to something like grounded about, like real money concerns or respect and acceptance from a family. And this one is dealing with a guy who, basically settled down and had a family who used to be a big jazz player, and he sort of misses it, but he is a good father. And it deals with his relationship with his daughter, who's trying to understand her dad's history before she grew up. It's good. He's being sort of brought back into like maybe auditioning to play in a band again, and whether he can make that work, and whether that's worth more than his family. Like, what's he more passionate about? That's a very adult concern, to go like, hey, this is something I love. Do I love it more than like I love my family, which comes with responsibilities, like, keeping the house working and feeding the kids and stuff like that. I liked it. I like it a lot. And when I read these books, I put on jazz music, and it really adds to the experience. Let's see. I'm listening to some jazz right now. Very nice. Very nice. You think that this sounds lame? I guess it's not for everybody. It's not about superheroes, but I think it's so well told. I think it's a different artist each week, but the writers are the same. Kyle Higgins, Radiant Black, and Joe Clark. And I think that they've just done a great job always capturing the era and something unique about jazz music specifically. I really find each time I pick this up, I go, am I really going to be able to get engrossed in a story about somebody that loves jazz? Because I don't love jazz. I respect jazz. Some of it I like, but I don't love jazz. But every single time I start reading one of these, I have a great time. So 3 issues, 3 great issues. Deep Cuts is really underrated. Wait, I highlighted the wrong thing. Deep Cuts, yeah. Yeah, I think it's so good. Oh, that's interesting. I did not know that Joe Clark is a composer, but I do know that towards the end of every issue, if I'm remembering right, yeah, there's always some actual liner notes or music to read. So that's kind of cool. Really like it, maybe because I'm a musician too. I feel like they're getting something very authentic about this. I don't know. Favorite jazz artists? Yeah, Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Nina Simone, Sun Ra. I don't really know Sun Ra, I have to admit. The first 3 I definitely like. Oh, did he really? Joe Clark composed the soundtrack for Cowl? I did not know that he did that, but that's cool. Cowl is underrated superhero story. I recommend it, folks. It's a thick story each week. It's a $6 comic, but it's bigger than a typical comic. It's a lot of pages. And I think you get a different experience that's really, really nice. So, out of what I've shown so far, this one is probably like the one I'd recommend the most, just to be clear. My friend Kerry Randolph has been doing a digital comic on his Substack with his partner, Joanne Starrer, who's written some comics that I've liked and has edited and has worked as a promoter for a wrestling promotion. She's done a lot of interesting stuff. This book is called Sirens of the City, which means more than one thing. Takes place in 1987, New York City, and follows a homeless girl who also happens to be pregnant and doesn't think she wants the baby. So this is some serious stuff to deal with. To help make that potentially a little more palatable, then that's a pretty serious stuff to go over. This girl comes across some people in the city that are offering, her a place to stay and stuff. And we slowly learn that some of them are creatures with powers, and that she may be a siren, someone that can captivate someone with their voice, but she doesn't necessarily know that yet. So she could literally, basically, just to be clear, she could literally be pregnant with a monster, which is probably something some women wonder about, like, what does the future bring with this? This feels like, what do I have in me? Kerry's art is fantastic. Look, he's been working for a long time in the industry. He's got style. He's got energy. He's got clean storytelling. He's got great character design chops. He worked on the, let's see, what was it? The early 2000s animated Ninja Turtles cartoon. The second one after the original 1980s one. So that's something that he worked on that was really cool. These characters are captivating. The world with like certain mythical creatures is interesting. And I don't know what I want for this main character yet. I really don't. Do I want her? She wants an abortion. And I don't know if that's like the thing that I should be hoping for yet or not. But it's interesting as hell. And there's real stakes and consequences to her sleeping with this guy that she actually is still attracted to, but she's got no, what would I call it? Like safety net to fall back on. She's an orphan. She doesn't have a family to support her. It's hard for her to make the right decisions or to feel like she's capable of getting ahead in life. I got this foil variant cover, by the way, because it was charging the same amount as the regular cost. But Sirens of the City, published through Boom Studios. I would recommend this. It's unlike any other comic that I'm reading right now. I picked up Sirens this week and liked it. The art made me pick it up, and I was surprised I liked the writing too. Joanne's a good writer. She'll make you like the characters. Yep, Daughters of the Dragons. I love Kerry's work. Very cool. Oh, damn, the book designs for Sirens look very good. Well, Mike, you've known Carrie's artwork for a long time. So yeah, look at how much this is reflecting on me here. The art looks so cool. Where can I get this online, but not Amazon? I'm sure that there are a number of comic book stores that would sell it. I know Things from Another World sells books online. I think Midtown Comics does as well. I did not get this through Substack. He offers this through Substack, but now it's in print through Boom Studios. So this has already sort of been out there for a while. I think that their Substack, which is called Glass Eye Studios, I think that they make a lot of it free and like for the comic itself, and then just have behind the paywall sort of extra stuff talking about designs and plans and things like that, their thoughts. So yeah, Glass Eye Studios is what they do. But yeah, it's just a regular comic published through Boom. There's a different cover that's non-foil that looks totally different, but it's called Sirens of the City. I picked up Sirens 2, pretty great read. I'm interested to see where it goes. Better than you might think. Better my eyes. Yeah, it's like really, I'm getting a kick out of reflecting this on myself. Well, TJ, let's get into that. Here's something where it's like mixing together two things that I really like. Ninja Turtles and Stranger Things. I happen to like both of those quite a bit. Nice. Thank you, Mike. IDW and Dark Horse teaming up to co-produce this comic where the Ninja Turtles meet the Stranger Things kids. Does it work? Does it work? These are two kind of different things. You know, the Turtles can be very sci-fi, but they tend to be a little bit more grounded, I think, than like how far Stranger Things goes, but not necessarily. Not necessarily. Well, this just puts them in the same world. And if you're going to set it in New York City, 1985, the nice thing about that is that means that the Turtles can be written and drawn very much like they were in the original comics. So here they are fighting some mousers, but they're not just any mousers. They're mousers that have been integrated with Demogorgons. And the Stranger Things kids, not the entire cast of the show, just the kids, are on a school field trip to the city. And I think that, you know, the artwork does a decent job at capturing their likenesses without being photorealistic. I do know who each of the characters are. Their voices are written accurately. I feel like tonally there's a little bit of a mismatch, but not so great that I couldn't enjoy this story for what it was. It eventually, like, the Stranger Things cast and the Turtles sort of team up into two groups to investigate like where these mousers are coming from, as well as like why the Upside Down is infecting New York City, which is fun. I liked getting to see the Ninja Turtles very much like they were presented in the original comics. They really are. And that's kind of fun. They're all wearing red bandanas. They're all pretty aggressive. They're all like Raphael's to a degree. But yeah, this is them like separating into two groups to investigate two parts. And there's something that, like, what they do is they hint at a shared mythology where Baxter Stockman, the mad scientist, knows Papa, the guy who did experiments on 11 and other children and gave them psychic powers. So that's how we tie it in, is we're saying Baxter Stockman knows something about the Upside Down and the psychics and stuff. It works better than I expected it to, because I wasn't sure if it would quite merge. It does merge fairly well. It merges well enough that the story moves at a good click. It does not slow down. There's not like weird page after page of weird exposition saying like, oh, you're here and this is what we do. All the dialogue felt like it gave me either something about moving the plot forward or told me something about the characters. So it was pretty good. Where would I rate it? Maybe somewhere along the lines of like a B-, which is, I think, still pretty darn good. Like, this is an interesting book. Interesting. Yes, Mike. They made those toys ages before this, and I don't know if it was all planned as one big thing, or if the toys came first and the comic took longer to produce, or if the comic came first and the toys came out first. I don't know. I don't know how that happened. But if you don't know, if you go to like places like Target and stuff, there are 2-packs, one character from Stranger Things and one of the Ninja Turtles characters. Kind of a weird mashup for toys, but that's what it is. That said, the Mouser Demogorgons were a fun enemy for one issue. And the last issue that I picked up this week is just the latest issue of Danger Street. But I'm really not going to try to recapture the plot for you or anything. All I can say is this is a really ambitious book to tie together 13 different DC characters into one cohesive narrative. You know, Lady Cop, the Green Team, the Dingbats of Danger Street, Manhunter, New Gods. It's so weird, like, to put all of these together, but I've said that stuff before. The Creeper. All I can say is I really like this. It's completely unexpected. I have no idea where it's going to go. Warlord, Starman, Metamorpho, Atlas, just so many weird characters. So many weird characters. But you'd need to start at the beginning. It's one cohesive story. I hope this doesn't get you in trouble. A question's not going to get me in trouble. Since you're not big on Channel Awesome, I've never been on. Oh, you mean like I'm not a huge fan? I guess that's fair. Which webcomic is worse, Linkara's Lightbringer or Chris Chan's Sonichu? Oh my God. It's like asking what's worse, like a plate of poop or a plate of diarrhea, right? No, you know what? I haven't read Linkara's comics, so I can't really judge. And Sonichu is like, it's not good, but at the same time, it's a kid with special needs, like writing a story that makes him the hero. It's not good, and there's problematic stuff in it, but at the same time, it's like, I don't want to judge Chris Chan for that. There are things Chris Chan has done that are bad, but his webcomic is among the least of my concerns. You know what I mean? And I just haven't read Linkara's book, so I just don't know. I'm aware of who Linkara is, but I haven't actually watched a lot of his show, so I'm also just not much of an expert on that. I haven't watched a lot of Channel Awesome shows in general, although they've been around long enough that I think, like, I've seen some. Like, I know who. I know who the Nostalgia Critic is. I know who Linkara is. Who are some of the other shows that were on that? I'm trying to remember now. Fellas, I think he had a show. Who else had a show? Angry Joe. He did like video games, I think, right? I've never really followed that stuff super closely, so I don't have super big opinions. Anyway, I love Danger Street, but this is an acquired taste probably, but I love it. I love it. So here is the last thing, and I just got this today from France. Let's take a look. I have not opened it yet. I don't think I'll have time to draw, by the way. I'm sorry. I mistimed everything. I wanted to draw, but you know what I'll do instead? When I get a chance, I will do a dedicated live stream. That's what I'll do. Okay, so this is Do a Power Bomb, but what's special about it? Well, it's the French edition, which is cool. Oh, okay. They also gave me a free comic here, but it's in French, so I don't really know. It looks like it's set like medieval era, maybe like a Joan of Arc type story. I don't know. Sorry. That's nice of them that they gave me that. But let's take a look. Why would I get a comic that I've already read, that I already have? because the French edition eliminates the colors, and I have zero bad to say about Mike Spicer. Mike Spicer is a great partner for Daniel Warren Johnson, but I was curious to see Daniel Warren Johnson's artwork for like any comic, but this is for Do a Powerbomb. So as it was originally designed with, what do you call it? His, well, any kind of his inking techniques, including stuff like screen tones. So yeah, this is all in French. There's an opening here that I'll need like Google Translate to translate. And yeah, I've already read this comic, but now I can actually look at it in original black and white. And it's big. This is nice paper. Doesn't this look beautiful? Doesn't this look cool? Draw my old PC. This looks incredible. Art looks nice. French comics. Leave it to the French to create a special edition. Isn't that nice? She and his dog, so I'm interested. Oh, I missed that. Where did it? I don't know where it's. Oh, that was the free comic, Jeannie? Is that what you were saying? Oh, yeah. Tete de chien. So something of the dog. And it looks like they've got a wolf things. Gene, nice job. I don't know. So I love Daniel Warren Johnson, and I just wanted to look at this and sort of see his art without any real distractions in a way. Because like I'm not going to read the dialogue because I don't know French, and there's no colors. And don't get me wrong, I love the colors. I loved Do a Powerbomb, but I thought that this would be really interesting just to look at and to try to focus on what he does as an artist. Where to get this? You're not going to find this in any American comic book store or even on, just to be clear, Amazon. Maybe eBay. I don't know. I had to go to a French retailer, which was not easy because, again, I don't speak French. So I was translating everything as I went through. I used a place, and I guess I can recommend it because it did arrive pretty quickly, I will say. It's not cheap, but it doesn't say here. It's called Ninth Store, okay? Ninth Store. And obviously the French love comics. Bande dessinée is huge in France and Belgium. They produce a lot of comics for all of Europe. They have somehow licensed this through Urban Comics Indies. I don't know if that's the name of the publisher for sure or not, but that's something I can read. I don't know. I just thought it was really cool. I got mine from Ninth Store. So if you're patient or if you trust your translation skills or maybe even Google's translation skills, you could get this as well. Just nice to have all. See, that's interesting to really see what the screen tones look like without the colors laid on top of that. That's very interesting to me. Or to see these brush techniques that he's used. It's not quite getting an artist edition like those things IDW sometimes publishes, like scans of the full page. It's not a scan of the original artwork, but it is fairly close to uninterrupted, just clean artwork. And this is beautiful. I'm glad I got this. Yeah. And just look at that cover. That's kind of cool too. This is a beautiful, beautiful book. I'm glad I got this. It says that it's €29 for what it's worth, €29, but you are going to pay something more than that for shipping, depending on where you're at. Because I don't think I have too many of you from France, at least not tonight. But yeah, that is so cool. And I have something I wanted to draw, or really like ink. I just laid it out really loosely. Some of Marshall from Radiant Black, but it's already well past 714. I guess I didn't time that out perfectly. My apologies. So what I'll do is I'll just do a dedicated live stream as soon as I can carve out a little bit of time. But I am going to be very busy this week because I'm working on the next comic, Tropes. And there's a lot to it. I really, really, really want to get it out this weekend. It's going to take a lot of work. But I'm excited. It is a topic that I love. Something by Takahiko Inoue, if that helps. And yeah. Thanks for the computer upgrade. This live stream has been flawless. That's really nice to hear. That is really nice to hear. Thank you. Thank you all for making it possible. I appreciate the super chats. Even if you can't do that, if you can hit subscribe or like, that really helps this channel, as well as my other one. Literally subscribing, liking, or leaving a comment afterwards, that stuff really, really helps spread the word. That's the stuff that Google looks for the most as far as the algorithm is engagement. When people hit like and subscribe and comment. So that's all free. But yeah, live fingernail painting. I did gel on these, and it's been like this for now 2 weeks. So that's pretty cool. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to take off now. And everything you said tonight really made me feel good. So again, my apologies for the last comic Tropes not being the most coherent for the first 10 minutes, apparently, and for having audio issues. My sincere apologies. I've got to leave and eat some fleas. We're gonna make sure next time I do not fail on the audio mistake monorail. Okay. Take care, everybody. Have a great night. Keep reading comics.